Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Daily to Dynasty YouTube channel. It's been a minute since we've created a little piece of video for you guys, but welcome back. We're glad to be back here. It's Interstate of Green's most favorite time of the year, the NFL Draft. Make sure you stay up to date on all things mock drafts on interstateofgreen.com, and of course, you can follow this show on Twitter at Daily to Dynasty. You can follow Interstate of Green at Interstate Green, and you can follow all of us right down here. All of our social medias are listed right below. I'm not going to read them all because you guys are beautiful people, and I'm sure you all know how to read. But we are making this show tonight in conjunction with Walk the Mock. This is one of the best NFL draft simulators on the market, and you can get access to it. We're 20% off with code Interstate at checkout. Again, that's walkthemock.com. It's an NFL mock draft simulator, and you get 20% off at checkout with Interstate. And it's not a lot of money either, guys. So you don't have to spend a lot for great access, for a great tool. And we made it even cheaper for you at 20% off using code Interstate. And we have a great group of analysts and writers, and I am not one of them. I am just your host and MC tonight. I'm Craig. We have Rich, we have John, we have Alberto, we have Brandon, we have David, we have Kevin on the way. We have split up the draft into each one of you guys has a couple of different teams that you will be the general manager for. The only two teams that we pre-drafted because they seem like done deals, and I'll do it live on the show, on the program. I won't give it away just yet. But the first two picks are already decided because they seem pretty likely. Rich is going to kick things off at number 3 with the San Francisco 49ers. David is at number 4 with the Atlanta Falcons. John is with the Cincinnati Bengals at 5. Alberto is with the Miami Dolphins at 6. And Kevin, the Detroit Lions at 7. And the Carolina Panthers will be selected by Brandon at 8. And then that order is just going to keep repeating itself down the line until we get through the first round of this NFL draft. So, guys, we're very excited, obviously, to get started. Before we head on into Walk the Mock, Anyone like to say anything before we kick off the NFL draft and I get booed like Roger Goodell?
Let's go Jets. This is your only time to shine until you lose like 9 straight games.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, guys, let's kick things off and head on over to walkthemock.com. And obviously, this is just one of the many different types of draft simulators available at walkthemock.com. I am the one running the show, so it's the one GM to rule them all or something along those lines. I forget the exact name, but there's a lot of different ones, and they all have really cool presentations. But let's go ahead and start our draft. And like I mentioned before, these first two picks kind of seem like done deals. So with that, first up on the clock, the Jacksonville Jaguars, we as a group have decided that they will be drafting none other than Trevor Lawrence. And obviously we have a lot of talking here to do tonight. But Rich, everyone has seemingly stopped talking about Trevor Lawrence for a long time now. It seems like the draft conversation has been all about the backup quarterbacks. And is that just because Trevor Lawrence is simply that much better?
I mean, the man has the playbook, so I'm gonna guess that he's the first pick. It came out literally today that he has the playbook, and they want to know what he likes and doesn't like. So if he's not the pick, he's gonna be very valuable for the Jets, who's gonna have the Jacksonville Jaguar playbook. So Trevor Lawrence, he's definitely going at 1. So put that in Sharpie.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Jets and our friend Mr. Wilson, that is who we all decided will be the number 2 overall pick. Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU to the New York Jets. And there's a lot of Jets fans on this mock draft. So I'm going to give all of you the opportunity to talk about the New York Jets real quick. Rich, and we'll just go down the line here of who's on the left, and I'll call on you. But Rich, what is it about Zach Wilson that you like so much?
I mean, when I look at him, I kind of see Josh Allen. And I'm not going to lie, when Josh Allen was the guy, I didn't really like Josh Allen. But obviously now seeing him on the Buffalo Bills tear apart my team twice a year and going deep into the playoffs, I like people who play like Josh Allen. So he's mobile. He has a nice attitude about him. I think he's built for New York media. He's got a face that is punchable, and I know Brandon wants to punch him every time he sees him, but it's got to be a change for the organization. Sam Darnold got traded to Carolina. I think it's the right thing to do, and this might be the guy. I mean, I know we've been saying it since Joe Namath left, but this might be the guy, and I think they are going to take a chance, and Mormon Mahomes is going to lead them to the promised land.
And down the line here of my Jets fans, John, you're up next. Talk to me about Zach Wilson.
Well, pretty much the same thing as what Rich said. I mean, he compared him to Josh Allen. I've heard people say he can make throws like Mahomes. I just want him to come in and be Zach Wilson. Let him come in and do his thing, and I think we're going to be okay. Moving on from Sam, not the easiest thing in the world. I was a big Sam fan, actually, but it just makes sense. You reset the salary cap with the quarterback, and you get 5 years on a rookie deal. So looking forward to seeing Zach come aboard.
And David, you're up next. Talk to me about Mormon Josh Allen. Is that what you call him, Rich?
Mormon Mahomes, but he plays like Josh Allen.
There we go.
Look, like what Rich and John said, he's the real deal. He looks like the real deal. During his pro day, during his time at BYU, his passes he was making were crazy in his pro day. This is an exciting time for New York Jets fans. Moving on from Sam Darnold was hard. I was a Sam Darnold fan, as John was, but it's exciting. Resetting that cap was a huge deal at quarterback for us. So Zach Wilson, I'm excited for him. I'm very excited.
And the last Jets fan among us, Brandon Turner. Any additional thoughts on Mr. Wilson here?
Yeah, he's just a freak, man. Like, it's very rare to see a guy come out with all the things he has. The only thing that really scares me is the 1 year, whereas his other years were sort of middling, and then he fought injury the year before. But he's just not a lot of people can do what he does. Really, if it weren't for the fact that Trevor Lawrence has 3 years of hype building up, if you were just comparing last year, he should be going ahead of him. I mean, he just had an absolutely insane year. And he fits so perfectly into that offense they're building. It's sad to see Sam go, though.
So 2 quarterbacks go at the first 2 picks, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. I'm sure they'll be compared for the rest of their lives coming out of the 2021 NFL draft. And we'll hear from Alberto later. You're just not a Jets fan. So I figured you'll have some more comments when we get over to Philly. So, Rich, you are now on the clock as the San Francisco 49ers at number 3. Tell me, who are they picking?
I mean, I think they're picking the wrong person. So I'll start by saying that. I mean, all the hype is around Mac Jones right now out of Alabama, and I think he's definitely QB5. Like, not even close. If there was a QB 17, he might be my QB 17. But I think the Shanahan offense is really looking at someone who's ready to play, ready to start day one, even though he doesn't have to because Jimmy G is there. For now, I'm going to believe the hype train, and I'm going to go with Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama.
Mac Jones is the selection. There it is. It's official. Number 20 player listed according to walkthemock.com, and I believe the 5th ranked quarterback. And I don't know how often quarterbacks have gone 1, 2, 3 in the draft before. We always kind of talk about it as a possibility. I don't know if it's ever happened, but I think this year could certainly be the year. Now, prior to the show, we did have a trade that is happening here at number 4. And this is one of the really cool features of Walk the Mock here is when you go to do a trade, and it's between the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots. So we're going to hear a lot from Rich here. But when we go here and we head on over to New England, we can see the associated value with both picks. So this year, New England is trading their first-round pick, and they're also trading their first-round pick for next year to trade up from 15 to 4. And before I do this, right, everyone, do we still accept this trade, David? Okay, he's nodding yes. So that has been accepted, and the New England Patriots are now on the clock. Rich, who are we taking?
So this is my actual QB 3. This is who I would take if I were the San Francisco 49ers, and this is Trey Lance. Trey Lance, to me, is the perfect quarterback for the Patriots. I mean, you look at Cam Newton, you look at Trey Lance, they both have mobility. Trey Lance was limited with his amount of playing time, but I think that he's going to grow and prosper in that Bill Belichick, team, that offense, that environment. I mean, he needs the time to sit, and he'll have the time to sit behind Cam, who will probably start for most of the year. I'm hoping that the Patriots are terrible so Lance can come in. But I definitely think that the Patriots are trying to build back to what they were. They went crazy during the offseason. They're trying to add weapons. They're trying to get Bill Belichick back to his place where he needs to be in the Super Bowl. And I think this is the best place to do it. The Patriots have the ammunition. They have the money. So this is the time where they're going to jump up to 4 because the quarterbacks are going to fly off the board. We just saw 4 go in a row. So there's really only 1 left. And I'm looking at Justin Fields, and, I don't know how long the Patriots can really wait. So you got to take this stab right here.
I think especially with QBs going at 1 and 2, should San Francisco follow the hype train at 3, we could see a QB run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and some crazy trades on draft night. Let's see what happens here in our mock. And for everyone watching at home, our participants here, they're all encouraged to make trades live on the show. So they can open up their mic and just throw a trade offer out there. So it might get a little crazy here down the line. We'll see how into it everyone gets and how much people are willing to risk. But right now, the Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock at 5. John, you are our general manager. Tell me what we're doing.
So coincidentally, if the Patriots do move up to 4, that makes the Bengals pick at 5 very valuable. Someone to come up and get that last quarterback. However, I think they keep the pick. They can go a number of different ways. I mean, them taking the quarterback last year who had a pretty good season until he got hurt. The one thing you got to do, and one thing that the Jets actually failed to do with Sam Darnold, is you got to surround the guy with talent and protection. And the Bengals get their pick of the litter here. I'm going to go a little unconventional. I think this will be the highest a tight end's ever been drafted, but I'm going to take Kyle Pitts from Florida. And if it bothers you that he's a tight end, just put wide receiver in front of him, because that's basically what this guy's going to be. He's going to be the Kittle. He's going to be the Kels. And I just think in the red zone, he's a huge target. And the Bengals would do themselves a favor by taking this guy here.
I really like that pick for Cincinnati. I think that I loved Joe Burrow last year. I said it every single week on this show, and I will continue to say it every single week until the day I die. He's my boy. I love him, and I think he will win me a fantasy football championship in this league. Unfortunately, David smacked me in the championship. I'm pretty sure. But I love this pick for him. They lacked some weapons in Cincinnati. I think that's gonna go a long way. So I'm a fan of it, and let's keep this hype train running. Alberto, it's time for you to finally speak, my friend. We didn't get in on the Jets love, but you are on the clock now as the Miami Dolphins. Tell me, who is Miami drafting, or are you trying to trade back?
Well, no. Miami's going to stay where they're at. They have to see if Tua is the guy, and they have to build around him. Yeah, it would be good to get an offensive tackle in Penel Sewell, but they have one of the best receivers just fall on their lap. They didn't have to trade up to grab him or do anything along those lines. I also had Pitt. Pitt as one of the guys that they would be interested in picking up, but they already have a pretty solid tight end already there, and Gesicki. So I'm going to stick with JaMarr Chase, wide receiver LSU, for the pick for the Miami Dolphins.
And I think that makes a lot of sense with a young quarterback. You have to build around him. You have to give him weapons. You have to give him a shot out there. So a very offensive heavy first 6 picks here in the 2021 Interstate Green Daily to Dynasty mock draft. Let's see if that trend continues or if we start to change things up and go defense. Now, apparently, Rich, I did not stall enough for our writer and friend Kevin Lidlow with all of my pontificating and great hosting skills. So now,
Yeah.
as a community, we are going to draft for the Detroit Lions at number 7. They could go a lot of different ways here. New quarterback, whole new direction in Detroit. Rich, why don't you kick off the discussion and let's see what we come to as a community.
I mean, when I look at the Lions, I think wide receiver. When you lose Galladay, you lose Marvin Jones. It would be nice to protect, Goff with that offensive tackle and Penel Sewell, but they need a lot. And at least for the Lions fans to get their butts in the seats, I think having a wide receiver is kind of the way to go. You have a new coach, new everything. He wants to bite some ankles here. I think it's time for Devonta Smith to bite some ankles. That would be my vote here at 7.
Anyone else, just feel free to jump into the conversation.
I don't think when they demanded that Goff come back in that trade, they ever thought that one of the big quarterbacks would ever fall down to where they could take him without moving up. I think that if Justin Fields is still there at 7, they might go, wow, do we really want Goff? Or do we go ahead and take a guy while we have a shot to?
So I'm going to ruin the momentum here. And although I said Devonta Smith and Brandon just said Justin Fields, Kevin came out of the woodwork, via social media here, and he's actually going Penel Sewell. So that was all for nothing.
Oh.
Yeah. We talked a good game. I think my side was definitely, both of our sides, made a lot of sense. But Kevin from outer space is going with Penel Sewell out of Oregon.
So from outer space, the Lions go tackle, and I have to say that I agree with that direction. I've been saying the Lions need to draft a tackle since 2010, the year after they drafted Matthew Stafford, and I don't know, they just never really got the right offensive lineman in place there in Detroit. Although I will say I was leaning more towards Brandon's argument. I think if Justin Fields was there, I don't think they thought they would be able to get a QB at 7. So sorry, Rich.
Well, I'm being biased for my next pick, so hopefully Brandon doesn't screw me over here.
And speaking of that, Brandon, you are on the clock as the Carolina Panthers, the proud new owners of Sam Darnold. What are they going to do here?
See, if Sewell was still there, they were going to have to go Sewell because it fills a need at the same time as getting an absolute blue chip prospect. I feel like if Sewell's gone and you got Pitts there, you have to go Pitts. He's just too good. He's too generational. There's nothing else that really stands out. I mean, yeah, you could go down and get Slater and watch him get wrecked.
But we don't have Pitts.
Oh, he's gone?
John took Pitts at 5.
What? Oh my goodness. Okay.
Night. This is GM on the fly, my friend.
Time to sweat right here.
Are you going to trade back?
No, I mean, if I had offers to trade back, I think that would be something they really need to look at. Just because there's nothing glaring that fell to them. They could go Devonta Smith, but you've already got so much talent at wide receiver. You could go offensive line, but I don't really think Rashawn Slater's that good. I feel like if they go offensive line, they're going to have to go with Darrisaw. So I guess that's going to be the pick if they don't get anything to move up. So I'll go
to trade with the Falcons at 15?
To have the Falcons go from 15 all the way back up to 8? What are they doing?
Yeah. There's a quarterback on the board. I hear that they're interested in.
That would be nasty if the Falcons. Well, we'll just do it because that's going to be awesome. Yeah, let's let the Falcons come back up.
So what's the offer, David? So
the
Falcons are at 15, and they have 2 first-round picks now for next year, right?
Yep. The pick that they got from the Patriots for next year. So 2 firsts to move up to 8.
So this year's first and the Patriots first from next year, correct?
Yep.
And Brandon, we are accepting that offer?
I feel like the Panthers would need like a throw-in. They would need like a next year's third or like a fourth or something like that before they would just take just that. But I feel like if you threw that in, that they'd move back because it's just perfect.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a 3.
Okay. So 2 firsts and a third.
Yeah.
2 firsts and a third for the Atlanta Falcons to move up back into the top 10 from 15 to 8. Really, and this is because quarterback needy market, right? Top quarterbacks are are flying off the board here. First 4 quarterbacks all went 1, 2, 3, 4. So, David, why don't you explain the logic of the trade and then tell me where we're going?
Gotcha. So they originally traded back with the Patriots. Now they're moving back up to the top 10. Justin Fields is still there. Matt Ryan isn't getting younger. He's 36 or so. His contract's due up soon. This fills a big need. He's a good bridge quarterback to eventually be the franchise quarterback of the Falcons.
So that is going to be Justin Fields at 8, and I have to make a fun graphic on the fly here that I wasn't prepared to do. So, Rich, why don't you talk about Justin Fields? Since you're a big Justin Fields hater, you can tell me why this was the best trade that the Falcons could have ever made.
I mean, if I'm Brandon Turner here, I'm very happy with the value it's got for Justin Fields here. Yeah, it's not that I hate Justin Fields. It's just I think that the distance between Fields and Wilson is bigger than what other people think it is. You know, obviously he had that huge game against Clemson. But I mean, I see a ton of mental mistakes, and I think he can get through that. I think he can obviously turn it around. But that's the whole reason for me. I see a gap between Wilson and Fields. So I was saying no to Fields nonstop because I just didn't want the Jets to take him. But that would be a really solid, pick for the Falcons. He can learn for a solid 2 years behind Matt Ryan. It's just a matter if they want to, have someone there that long. Because we see what happens with Jordan Love, where he's never ever going to play unless Jeopardy comes along. But yeah, I think that was a solid trade for both sides. I think Brandon's smiling a little bigger, but yeah, it screwed me for my pick. So that's all that matters. As long as Rich loses for the Denver Broncos, that's all that matters.
Well, I was about to say you are now on the clock. The Denver Broncos are on the clock. And also just to point out, we're at pick number 9 here. Not one defensive player has been taken. And only one non-skill position has been taken. It's been quarterbacks, tight end, wide receiver, and one offensive line. So this is a offensive heavy, pretty interesting draft so far. Rich, Tell me who the Denver Broncos are taking.
So, I mean, offense is going to continue. You look at Drew Lock. Drew Lock now, he's got to be the guy because everyone else is gone unless they want to go a little later in the draft. So you got to do something to protect him. I know they got Garrett Bowles at left tackle, Jawan James at right tackle. But with Rashawn Slater staring me in the face right now, there's really no option in my mind. Got to go with him. I feel a little bit different than you do, Brandon, with Slater. I think Slater is kind of close to Sewell. I know a lot of drafts actually have Slater going before Sewell, which I would never do. But as far as offensive tackle, I think there is kind of a big drop off from Slater to Darrisaw. So let's protect Drew Lock. He's still going to suck, but he can suck in style now.
Sucking in style in Denver, Colorado. Rashawn Slater and the Denver Broncos. And now we are at the 10th overall pick. The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. David, you just spun some gold out of straw for the Atlanta Falcons. What are you going to do for the Dallas Cowboys?
So we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball. In reality, I can see him going one of 2 ways here, Surtain or Micah Parsons out of Penn State. But I see him going Patrick Surtain. He's one of the best corners in this draft, if not the best corner in this draft, and that's a glaring hole that the Cowboys have. So that's my pick for the Cowboys.
So our first defensive player finally gets taken here at number 10 overall, and it's a cornerback. And I just think that this is pretty interesting from a draft perspective because this is very atypical, I think, of NFL drafts. Usually you see a lot of defensive tackles and edge rushers and offensive linemen early in drafts. And I think because of this year really has an elite quarterback class. It's going to create a lot of need early, a lot of demand, a lot of crazy trades. And this makes a ton of sense to me, even though it's kind of crazy. But number 10 here, the Dallas Cowboys take Patrick Surtain. Let's head on over to the New York Football Giants. And John, you are back on the clock. What's the pick? Where are we going?
So with the Giants, there's a number of places they can go. I happen to think they did a fantastic job in free agency. I actually really like their defense. Obviously, you add Galladay, you're doing all right on offense. They're going to get their running back as well. They're going to be pretty solid. I think the pick here, I'm going to go with a defensive player, linebacker Micah Parsons from Penn State. I think he gives them what they're looking for. He can help in pass rush. He can cover. I think he's probably, in my opinion, he's probably the best linebacker in the draft, and the Giants grab him at 11.
I think that's some good value. I think you're right. I think the Giants have a lot of decent pieces in play. I think Saquon Barkley coming back is going to be a very big deal for them, and I think that could be a good pick for them. Rich, any additional thoughts here on Mr. Parsons?
I mean, if anyone's going to get Hayes, it's going to be him on that team. You know, they have a head coach that rolls around in the mud, so he's going to be the one who gets Hayes this time around. And I think he's going to turn into a quality player. I mean, he was a quality player. If he didn't haze people, he'd be in the top 6. So, good pick.
Good pick. And let's stick with the NFC East here. And here we go. It's time for Mr. Philadelphia himself. Alberto, you are on the clock. Tell me, who are your Eagles selecting to return to greatness?
Well, as you can see by my hat, Hurts season, it's official. He will have a great season this year with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the new offense with Nick Sirianni on the helm, first year. But we're not going to go offense. We're not going to go weapons for Jalen Hurts. We picked up some receivers last year. Jalen Reagor, John Hightower, Quez Watkins. We signed Fulgham. We are going to pick up receivers at some point or another in this draft, maybe double on that. But the need right now for the Philadelphia Eagles is DB, cornerback. We need to shore up that defense. Like, God only knows how bad. We always get burned. And then the NFC East got Curtis Samuels. You have McLaurin. You have CeeDee Lamb. Kenny Galladay. Like, it's ridiculous. We're going to get scorched. So I'm going with Jaycee Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina, as the pick at number 12 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts may have to wait till day 2.
So Jaycee Horn pick for Philly. Go ahead, Brandon.
I just had to scratch out Devonta. I had assumed I just wrote it in, but I had to scratch it back out.
It's tempting, but I had to hold off. There's so much talent at the wide receiver. I had to hold it off.
And now joining us from space, as Rich said before, Kevin Lidlow in the house.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
We're doing great. We appreciate you dialing in before to phone in the Detroit Lions pick. We were mid debate, and then you provided some clarity on the pick. You are on the clock now once again with the Los Angeles Chargers, and because you kind of missed my spiel at the beginning, we're taking trades live. So if you don't like this pick, if you don't like how the draft is unfolded so far, feel free. That's my dryer, guys. Laundry's done. It goes on forever, and then I forget about it. As loud as that is, I don't remember to go get my laundry. So that's fun. So let me recap the draft for you real quick thus far, Kevin. At number 1, we had Trevor Lawrence. Number 2, Zach Wilson. At number 3, Mac Jones. At number 4, the New England Patriots traded up to get Trey Lance with the Falcons. At number 5, the Bengals took Kyle Pitts. At number 6, the Dolphins took Jamar Chase. At number 7, the Lions took Penel Sewell. Someone correct me if my pronunciation's bad. At number 8, the Falcons traded back up with the Panthers to get Justin Fields. Number 9, the Broncos took Rashawn Slater. At number 10, the Cowboys took Patrick Surtain. At number 11, the Giants took Micah Parsons. And at number 12, just before you, the Philadelphia Eagles took Jaycee Horn. So the Los Angeles Chargers now on the clock. You are welcome to entertain trade offers, or you can tell me who you're selecting.
Well, as tempting as everything seems, and now given how everything's been going, and it seems like with my picks so far, they've been having a recurring theme, and I think I'm going to stick to it this time. For the Los Angeles Chargers, I'm going to be taking offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw. I think right now the Chargers are a very sneaky team. They have so much talent around them for Justin Herbert. The only thing that's really their Achilles heel is offensive line. I think Darrisaw fits there perfectly for them. I think just overall, it just seems like a very good fit.
Yeah, I love the idea of protecting your rookie franchise quarterback. I mean, Herbert, I think, was one of the most pleasant surprises in last year's NFL season. I think he was way better than anyone gave him credit for when he got drafted. And I think anything you can do to protect your quarterback is typically a good move. So I'm in favor of it. Let's move on to number 14 here. Brandon, you are on the clock with the Minnesota Vikings. Tell me what the pick is.
Wow. So Minnesota, I mean, I was looking at edge because, I mean, they have a real need there. It's a pretty good edge class. I think Jalen Phillips is the best edge in the class, but he just cannot seem to get his medical stuff squared away. I guess now he's got COVID, and so he couldn't do his medical test. I think they're surprised Devonta Smith is still here, and they're like, man, we could do Devonta Smith and Justin Jefferson on the same team, and they go Devonta.
I was just about to, comment that, man, this kid's fallen. Devonta Smith just kept falling and falling. I was like, eventually someone's going to scoop him up, and that is a scary, scary wide receiver group now in Minnesota. I think that offense is going to be able to do some special things if this is the scenario that happens for them on draft night. And Brandon, we'll keep it here with you. This is where your Carolina Panthers traded back to. Where are they looking here?
Yeah, so I was looking at Darrisaw. It was going to be perfect. They trade back and get a guy that they valued with number 8, but he's gone. I think they just go, okay, screw it. We'll just surround Sam with everything, and they get Jaylen Waddle and just give him another freak slot receiver who's 3 times what Crowder is.
I like that as well. I know Carolina has some weapons already in place, but they don't quite have someone who I would view as elite per se. And I think that the more weapons you can add, probably the better. So I like that pick as well. Back-to-back, Team Brandon on this one. Those are some solid selections, best player available type of picks. Let's head on over to Arizona. David, you are on the clock. The Cardinals could either make a selection, they can make a trade. What are you feeling? David, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was going to go Waddle. That made a lot of sense there, but it does make a lot more sense in Carolina. But I can see him going defense or offensive line here to protect their franchise quarterback. But I think I'm leaning towards protecting Kyler and go with Vera-Tucker. I think Rich isn't going to like that much because him and I both really want him in New York to protect Zach Wilson. But I think that makes a lot of sense to get Vera-Tucker to protect Kyler Murray.
So Rich, especially because you just got called out, why don't you tell me a little bit more about this pick?
The man has freakishly small arms, which means he's going to be a really good guard. And the Jets need 2 of those. So the fact that he's gone, it's a big drop off at the guard position now. But, it's a good pick for Kyler. Kyler likes to run and run and run. So he needs all the help he can get up front. Plus, he has pretty good wide receivers, too. So it's a good thing that the guard is there for him.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good pick. Kyler, he's a little quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he could use all the protection possible because he's going to get hit with all that scrambling. The more protection, the better. I think this is just appreciate the top half of this draft real quick. We've had a handful of defensive players, no edge rushers, a few offensive linemen, but a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of skill positions. It's an untraditional draft, but I like it. And I can see how the early run on quarterbacks just kind of makes everything else a little bit neater. So this is pretty cool. We're having a lot of fun here on walkthemock.com. Just a little reminder here at the halfway point that you too can get access to this tool. It's walkthemock.com and use code Interstate at checkout for 20% off your order. And make sure you're subscribed to everything Daily to Dynasty and interstateofgreen.com, at Daily to Dynasty on Twitter, at Interstate Green on Twitter. All of our Twitters on the screen here below our friendly faces. And of course, great written analysis at interstateofgreen.com. All right, pick number 17. John, you are on the clock as the Las Vegas Raiders. Tell me what we're doing.
Well, I think the draft falls the way the Raiders would need it to. I definitely see them adding to their defense here at 17. I'm having a little debate with myself whether I want to go corner or linebacker. I think I'm going to end up going linebacker, only because Gus Bradley requires a lot of speed in his defense. I like what they've done to the edge a little bit in free agency, adding Yannick and Max Crosby. I'm going to give them Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, if I'm saying that right, from Notre Dame. I think the guy is a little bit of a freak. I think it's something that Gus Bradley will have a lot of fun playing with on his defense.
And you said it better than I possibly could, but I didn't even attempt to type it.
His friends just call him Jack.
Okay. So we got Jack at number 17 here. I think that's a good pick for the Raiders. They were a pretty, average team last year. They could use a little bit of talent everywhere, and I think that's a quality pick for them. Let's head on over to Miami Dolphins once again. Alberto, you're on the clock, buddy. What are we doing? Is Alberto on mute? He's looking. He's studying.
He's looking and studying.
This
is GM Live. You got 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6. You're on mute. And he's gone.
And we lost him.
So let's talk a little bit about these Miami Dolphins. I mean, Miami, very improved team. They're going to be battling with the Buffalo Bills this year in the AFC East. They're good from top to bottom. Coaching staff is great. Could they add a skill position here? Is it too early to do Najee Harris? I don't know. I don't know what he's picking, but as you can see, I'm stalling. And
no, and so earlier in the night, Alberto took JaMarr Chase, the wide receiver out of LSU, for the Miami Dolphins. And we'll wait a minute to see if he's able to reconnect. But let's open it up a little bit here to some of our fellow AFC East fans who maybe can speak to the Dolphins' skill set, and just open forum. Feel free to come off mute. What do you guys think, in addition to JaMarr Chase, the Dolphins should be doing to make themselves a better football team this year?
I think you definitely got to go offensive line for sure. I mean, I think that's another area you can definitely go on improving. Another one, definitely running back for sure. Always doesn't seem like there's like a big crowded back room, but you always can find that in day two. But I think definitely offensive line for sure. You want to go that route.
And John, you were going to say something?
Yeah, if I'm the Dolphins, I'm going Najee Harris here, especially if I got my wide receiver earlier. They need to surround Tua with some talent, and I think that's what they need to do. They need to protect them also. I think the draft gets a little deeper in rounds 2 and 3 when it comes to offensive line. So I see them grabbing the top running back in the draft here.
I mean, I'll vote for Najee too. In my draft on interstateofgreen.com, there's a little plug there. I have him going at 18. And I think that's probably the only running back that can go anywhere in the first round, especially today with the Buccaneers adding Giovanni Bernard. He would be the other, wild card team. But yeah, I mean, my vote would be for Najee. I guess we can just go down the list at this point.
Najee over Etienne?
Oh, wait, I see someone chilling in the wings here. Alberto is back.
Sorry. I'm sorry. The signal is horrible.
That's all right. We had 2 votes for Najee Harris for the Dolphins. I don't know if that's what you had in mind.
No, it's not at all whatsoever. I get it. He needs the help offensively. I'm going edge. The best edge rusher, pure edge rusher from Michigan, Kwitty Paye. He's the guy that is going to get picked for the Miami Dolphins. I'm sorry, Zach Wilson, but you're going to get chased down for the next 10, 15 years. But I think he's the best choice for them. They need to shore up that defensive line because defense wins championships, and they're trying to build quality football team there.
So that is the official pick. They were about 3 seconds away from getting a running back. Instead, they get Kwitty. Hey, let's head on over to the good old-fashioned Washington football team. I almost wish their name was like Washington to be determined or something. I don't know. I just want like a real name. I'm tired of the Washington football team. But either way, Kevin, you were on the clock as Washington. Who are they selecting? Or are you trying to trade?
Honestly, it's a tough one. I think that there's a lot of things that this team really needs in terms of that. But overall, I think one of the other things is that they got to find a replacement for Trent Williams. So I think that one of the people that I really like on this pick here is Tavon Jenkins from Oklahoma State. I like the guy's size. I think he's very agile. I think he can be a very good fit at that left tackle for sure.
So Jenkins is the pick here at number 19, and I think that makes a ton of sense. They have to beef up that offensive line. It's always a good pick to beef up your offensive line. It very rarely is a poor decision. So
it's not sexy, but
it's not sexy, but it's kind of that long-term play that helps build championship caliber teams. So I think you steered Washington in the good direction. Now, if only we could get them a name. Let's head on over to Chicago. Brandon, you are on the clock. Tell me what the Bears are going to be doing here.
Yeah, speaking of not sexy, the Bears quarterback situation is disgusting. It's like you could go wide receiver here and build up, but who the hell's throwing to him? You're going to watch, whoever and Allen Robinson go out there and just never get the ball to them like they do all game. I think Kellen Mond is a lot better than he's been, the hype he's been getting thus far. I think he really should be up there with those other 5 guys. So I think they go Kellen Mond at 20 and give their fan base just a tiny bit of hope.
Kellen Mond, here we go. The senior out of A&M. It's according to our friends here at Walk the Mock. It's a bit of a reach. Anyone got any comments on this selection?
The man wears cowboy hats like no one has ever seen before. He's got the style. There's a lot of people that are saying he might sneak into the first. So I mean, let's spice it up right here and do the draft shocker at 20. I like the chutzpah over there.
Listen, Brandon's been wheeling and dealing. He traded back. He's taking risks. He's taking chances. And the Bears aren't great at drafting, so I think he's role playing a little bit. I
think that could be a sneaky, that could actually end up happening, and everybody's like, "Who thought that the Bears were actually going to go here?" And I'm going to be like, "I thought."
And that's like we should put some money down to see if it actually happens. Like a buck or two, $1 or $2. Let's see what happens. Let's head on over to Indianapolis. Maybe. I don't know who would, but maybe they love Andy Dalton. Let's head on over to Indianapolis. Rich, you are on the clock with the Colts. Are you trying to trade, or are you gonna stay here?
I'm staying put. The Colts are a good team, and good teams can take players that might need a little time to get back on the field. Maybe they're not 100%. And the player for me that's kind of jumping off the page right now is Caleb Farley, the cornerback from Virginia Tech. I think if it wasn't for his back issues, he might be better than Surtain. I mean, the opt-out and the back injury right now, it's kind of bringing him down the board, but he's going to be ready for training camp. He's going to be out there week 1, and I think he's going to be the one that got away for a lot of teams that are kind of focusing on the medical here. So Indy definitely has a championship-level team. It seems like the Jets always steal their really bad cornerbacks and they keep the good ones. So I think Caleb Farley is going to be there to restock the secondary, and he's going to be scary. We got to see if Carson Wentz could be the Carson Wentz of a few years ago instead of last year. And if he is, the sky's the limit.
And in my opinion, the Colts already had a pretty good defense. So the good just kind of get better here and beef up that secondary. I like that pick for them. Let's head on over to Tennessee. Kind of one of my favorite teams from last season. A big fan of the program they've been putting together, some of the talent they have there. And, of course, I just love King Henry stiff-arming people left and right. We have David on the clock here as the Tennessee Titans. Why don't you tell me who they're drafting?
So I was going to go Farley until he got picked by the Colts because their best corner right now is Janoris Jenkins, and that's not saying much. But they have another glaring hole at wide receiver since they have A.J. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and pretty much no one else. So with that being said, I'm going to have them going Rashawn Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. Ryan Tannehill needs some weapons, and I think that's a really, really good weapon to have with a wide receiving core of Bateman, A.J. Brown, and Josh Reynolds, with King Henry, too, in the backfield.
Yeah, having a running back like Henry, of course, makes all your wide receivers' jobs a little bit easier. But with Corey Davis leaving the Titans this year, going to the New York Jets, it's certainly a big hole for them. They are, they're a competitive team. They have a shot, just like anyone else in the playoffs. They have the ability to make a run. They're built to do it. They have a strong defense, and the right pieces in play, they might be able to take a run at a championship. I don't know how likely it is, but they're a playoff team, so anything can happen. I like that pick for them, and it replaces a very good player in Corey Davis. Number 23, the New York Jets, back on the clock. John, do your best Joe Douglas impression and tell me who we are drafting.
I don't have time to shave my head, but I'll give you the pick. If the board falls this way for the Jets, I really like where they're sitting. I would have loved to get Tucker here at 23, but I didn't think he'd be there. I thought they would have to probably move up a couple spots to get him. But they have some options here. Again, I'm very critical of how they did not surround their last quarterback with talent. I think they have the opportunity to do that here with a couple guys. I think they can go corner as well. I think Sante Samuel Jr. is someone who would be considered this spot. And I think they could actually slide down a couple picks and get one of three guys. I wouldn't mind seeing Rondell Moore, wide receiver, here, but I'm going to go to the spot that I think they did a terrible job in free agency, bringing in guys on the offensive line. And I'm going to take care of the center spot right now with Landon Dickerson.
Landon Dickerson, a center. It's been a position of need since the departure of Nick Mangold. It's never really been adequately replaced. And I think the center is a really undervalued position in general. People are always talking about how athletic your guards are when they're pulling from left to right, how good your tackles are doing. But the center is typically the brains of the operation. It's not talked about enough. I like this pick a lot. I think the offensive line has been a pain point for the Jets really for the last decade or so. So I think this is a step in the right direction. You pair him with another great quality young offensive lineman in Becton. And I think this is a team on the rise. Let's head on over to Pittsburgh, the Pennsylvania cousin rival. I don't even know their relation to the Eagles. I don't know how Eagles fans feel about Steelers fans, but I'm going to call them rivals because why not? I like creating drama where there isn't any. And Alberto, the resident Eagles fan, is picking for the cross-state rival Steelers. Tell me what they're doing here.
Well, my father, he's a Steelers fan from, the 70s and so far and so forth. So he's always braiding me with the Steelers. So they don't really bother me unless if we face them. But was a running back taken off the board by chance?
I don't believe we've had a running back taken tonight yet.
I know it's too early for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh looks for defense and sometimes like edge rushers, give or take. I'm going to go with Najee Harris for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need running backs. As you know, Le'Veon Bell had left, was with the Jets, then now is with the Chiefs. James Conner at the same time is not there. He's a free agent. He's dealing with injuries that he should be good to go by training camp. So I'm going to stick with Najee Harris for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And we had you selecting Najee Harris with the Dolphins a couple picks ago, and now here you are taking him in Pittsburgh. I like the pick, and I think it'll be very helpful in Pittsburgh. Let's head on down to Jacksonville. They are the proud owners of the best quarterback in the draft and probably the world, the way people talk about Trevor Lawrence. and Kevin is on the clock as Jacksonville. Tell me what they're going to do to complement their shiny new quarterback.
Well, listen here. I mean, the best way to do is surrounding him with the best weapons that you can give. I think in terms with that, I think there's a lot of options that the Jacksonville could go this route. But after seeing Najee Harris going off the board, I can't see, Travis Etienne falling all too far off the wagon. I think this makes a solid move for them. Not only are you pairing, the two former teams at Clemson together again, but you guys they already built chemistry with each other, so they know what to expect from one another. I think this makes perfect sense for the move.
So Travis Etienne is the selection here. I guess they will be pairing him with Robinson. Rich, you got a little look on your face like you want to say something. Why don't you go ahead?
I just love the pronunciation because, I mean, you both had it wrong in such a funny way that it was like on the opposite sides of the spectrum.
It's pretty good.
It's Etienne, but I mean, the way you said it kind of sounds French and exotic. So I like.
I gotta be honest. I didn't read it. I just copied what Kevin said.
No, I know that. I know it kind of sounded.
It was a follow the leader in this case, and he chose wrong.
Yeah. It sounded like an antenna, but you're saying it like a nice French accent. Like you're gonna take me out for a baguette, I liked it.
I got some croissant around here somewhere. Little French pastry. Let's my pronunciation aside, I never claimed to be an expert. Let's head on down to Cleveland where they don't know how to pronounce any name. And the Browns, Brandon is on the clock. Brandon, what is Cleveland doing to make themselves better this NFL draft?
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. Cleveland got exposed all last year at the fact that they had no linebackers who weren't just some Jags who can fill a position. And when you're running that Seattle scheme, as the Jets are about to figure out, you have to have at least one linebacker who can be everywhere. It's so crucial for the system. We've got Mosley. God knows if he's in any kind of playing shape after years of just chilling in a hammock, but they need to get someone who can do that. I think the best guy available right now who fits that mold is probably Zaven Collins. So I'm going to give them Zaven Collins right now.
And I think that makes sense. I think any championship caliber team needs to have themselves a quality linebacker, right? Who can be the leader on your defense. And I think that is something that Cleveland is missing. So I like that pick for them. They're obviously very skilled offensively. They need to beef up that defense just a little bit more. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens, Rich. Be more. Tell me who they're drafting.
The thing about the Ravens that I absolutely hate is their wide receivers. I don't even like Hollywood Brown. I know David likes Hollywood because he made him win a championship in fantasy this year, but I'm not a huge fan. I think adding Sammy Watkins, I mean, it's a nice complimentary piece, but it doesn't change what they can do in the draft in the first round. And the Miles Boykin, whatever you want to say about that guy, that's fine. I'm going to do a bit of a reach here, and I think it's a reach that's definitely going to pay off for the team. I am going Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. You look at him, it's like Justin Jefferson light. Runs a blazing fast 40 time. It's like 4.35, something like that, something crazy that jumped off the page. Wide receivers from LSU know how to produce in the NFL. And this is going to be a chip off the old block and finally someone that is going to let Lamar let loose. I think Terrace Marshall is going to allow Hollywood Brown to be the number 2 wide receiver, which I think is actually what he is in real life.
Yeah, I definitely agree with your analysis of Hollywood Brown. I think this is the most glaring need for the Ravens, that they don't have a true number 1 elite wide receiver. And hopefully Terrace Marshall can be that person for them. The NFL has seen some great wide receivers out of LSU over the years. So I think they're a bit of a football factory when it comes to the wide receiver position in the pros. So I like that pick a lot for Baltimore. I think Lamar Jackson and company could really benefit from a quality wide receiver. Let's head on down to New Orleans. It's a brand new era in New Orleans. No more Drew Brees. David, tell me how the Saints are going to keep themselves relevant in this brand new era in New Orleans.
So I can see him going anywhere, honestly, right here. They had to cut a lot of talent, try to get underneath the cap this offseason. I can honestly see him going somewhere in the secondary with Marshawn Lattimore being a free agent after this year, and he's also in some legal trouble as well. So with that being said, Greg Newsome cornerback out of Northwestern is my pick for the Saints.
Greg Newsome. And while I type, why doesn't somebody give some commentary? John, you're off mute. What do you think about Greg Newsome?
I think it's the right pick at that spot for sure. I would have considered him earlier in the draft for him to fall to that spot. I think the Saints would be smart to grab him.
Yeah, and I think the Saints are in a very interesting position just as a team right now. Even though Drew Brees is retiring, they in theory are pretty set at the quarterback position with Jameis Winston and I'm blanking on the Wildcat-esque player, but
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill, thank you.
Okay.
You know, they have a lot of talent on their roster still. They could go in a lot of different directions. I don't think it ever hurts to beef up the secondary, so I like that pick a lot. Let's head on over to Green Bay, John. They got criticized a lot in last year's draft, and Aaron Rodgers tried to prove the world wrong anyway, and they didn't quite get there. So does the management try to help out Aaron Rodgers, or do they make the same mistakes they made last year?
Well, it's interesting. I think they can go a number of ways. If the Jets don't take Dickerson, I think he's a logical pick for the Packers, who just lost their big center to the Chargers there in free agency. I'd love to see them, for a change, give them a first-round wide receiver with Rondale Moore, but I don't think they go that way either. I think the pick for them is going to be, and I think I'm Mr. Linebacker in this draft. It's going to be Nick Bolton. I don't think the Packers properly replaced Blake Martinez the year before. I think Bolton's going to slide right in there and be the quarterback on defense that the Packers desperately need after the loss of Martinez last year.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good direction, actually, for the Packers. I mean, offensively, this team can score like nobody's business, and I know that didn't work out so well for them in their playoff game. That was a bit of an exception rather than the norm last season. They were able to score points quite easily all last season. I think if they're able to get one or two more big stops, maybe that's the difference in getting back to a championship game. So I don't hate that pick, actually. I think that's pretty good there for the Packers. Let's head on up to Buffalo. Alberto, you are on the clock as the Bills. I don't like the Bills, so I'm not giving you a grand entrance. Why don't you just tell me who they're picking? Oh, and we just lost him. And he's gone. He smiled at my joke.
That was a good pick. The Bills don't get a first round pick now. It is forfeited because Alberto straight up left the draft. But I mean, in my mock draft, I had him going edge. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about it until he's back, but I definitely think they can use an edge rusher, and literally all of them are still on the board besides Kwitty Paye. So I could see Azeez Ojulari here. I could see, a Jason Oweh. I could see a Jalen Phillips.
He has come back. He has
there
come
he is.
back.
I stalled enough. Alberto.
He laughed at my joke and came back. Who are the Bills taking?
Yeah, what I wanted to say was we want to thank God for the Green Bay GM, John, for going linebacker and having this cornerback fall to us.
Ooh.
The Buffalo Bills do like to pick players on defense that kind of have a shady past. And I was looking at Jalen Phillips, the edge rusher, but I think he's going to fall quite a bit. We're going to go with Asante Samuel Jr. to shore up that defense for the Buffalo Bills.
Asante Samuel Jr.
I actually think that's a really good pick in that spot. I don't need to jump in. So that's who I was going to say if Alberto didn't get back. Samuel could play a couple different spots in the secondary there, and I think he's a guy Leslie Frazier would love to add to that defense. So I think that's a really good pick.
I agree. I think the Buffalo Bills are a very good team. I think that makes their defense even scarier. I think that's pretty good for them, which means I will be sad come football season as a Jets fan. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, who looked invincible all season long, and then asleep for the entire Super Bowl. It was honestly the worst Super Bowl I've ever watched. It was such a dud. I fell asleep. It was pouring rain. I don't know. Or no, snowing. It was dumping snow here by me. It was not a fan of anything going on that day. But the Kansas City Chiefs are one of the best teams in football. They will continue to be one of the best teams in football next season. Kevin, tell me how they get better.
Well, it's not every day where, an NFL a team who just went to the Super Bowl losing both their starting tackles on the offensive line. And, even if John's, Mr. Linebacker, I'm going with Mr. Offensive Line on this one. This to me just kind of makes a lot more sense because losing Mitchell Schwartz and then as well and releasing Eric Fisher all in one offseason, that means that they have to go. They're trying to go in a different round, trying to go younger. And on this point, I think they're going to go with Samuel Cosme from Texas. I think he brings that youth, and I think he's got a lot of athleticism to really fit into that Kansas City offense, who does like a lot of mobility, especially protecting Patrick Mahomes in the back.
I think that makes a ton of sense. I mean, even in that Super Bowl game, Kevin, you saw Mahomes running for his life, throwing while horizontal in the air, and I mean, just doing some things that were insane. So I think they could definitely use the offensive line help. When you have a quarterback as good as Mahomes, it doesn't really even matter who's on the outside. He's going to get them the football, but you just have to keep him upright. So I like that pick a lot. And that is going to bring us to the defending Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Brandon, you are on the clock. Do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers keep this pick? Do they try and trade back? We are not mock drafting a second round, so it'd be like a bit of a cop-out for you personally. But it does happen a lot with the 32nd pick. Maybe someone is antsy, chilling in the second round. What's going on here at 32?
Yeah, I think they keep it. The fact that they had such a successful free agency, I mean, they kept Godwin and Barrett when it looked like they were going to have to choose between the two, and Fournette, and then got to insurance with Bernard. They really don't have any glaring needs at this point. And the fact that Jalen Phillips really should have gone 20 picks ago if it weren't for the fact that he's catching COVID and his back hurts and everything else. But they're in a position where they can kind of take that risk because if it works out and he gets healthy and you combine him with Shaq Barrett, I mean, they're just going to repeat. So I think they could take that risk when you go Jalen Phillips.
So Jalen Phillips is the selection, and that closes out the first round of the NFL 2020. We didn't come up with an official name for this. 2021 official Interstate of Green mock draft. I don't know. I'm not doing so great at this host thing. Host fail. That was the entire first round. I think it was a pretty shocking first round personally. A lot of quarterbacks early. And I really, not to tout the sponsor too much, but I really did enjoy the platform on Walk the Mock. I mean, I was able to check out all the different profiles. He has everyone's stats. There's a lot of information here, and I really liked when trades happened, all the different the trade value per picks. It really it made me feel like I was Roger Goodell minus, well, I did get booed once at a pronunciation. So thank you, Rich, for making me feel like
I didn't boo you. I said it sounded better,
It's okay. I wanted
it was Kevin. It was Kevin's fault.
It was my fault, but he decided to choose my path, so he's coming down with me. So
yeah,
absolutely. Well, guys, do you have anything you guys want to add about our mock draft before we kind of wrap things up here?
I gotta say though, I mean, if you're the New York Jets, I think you're in a really good position for days 2 and 3, considering that how many players have been falling off who were projected to go first round. I think this is good. It sets up a great opportunity for Joe Douglas to really shine within these next couple rounds. And who knows? I think it's going to be an exciting draft for the Jets for sure.
Yeah, if it felt like the way we did it, I mean, you got to take an edge rusher at 34, just because the two best ones are probably still on board there. So put him across from Carl Lawson and have yourself a time on that defense.
I wouldn't be shocked if you see movement with the Jets too, not just at 23, either up or down. I think they could slide into the last part of the 30, 31, 32 spot and possibly grab someone there too. They've got the ammo to do it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I was
Brandon
just
and
gonna
David,
say,
closing thoughts. David, you go ahead.
I wouldn't be surprised if they move to the later part of the first round, like John just said. I mean, Phillips was sitting right there. Gregory Rousseau is still there. There's a lot of edge there, and I'd like to see Joe Douglas make a move and not just sit there at, 34 or so. I'd like to see him move up and grab his guy.
Brandon, any closing thoughts about the Jets or anything otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of a crazy draft, but every year the draft plays out crazy. It's never anywhere near what we think. So I like that we got a little wild with it because that could end up being more accurate than if we went chalk. So pretty cool.
Well, yeah, what's funny is we had a very similar experience during our fantasy football mock draft special over the summer. And, I was baffled at some of the selections that were happening during our mock draft. But when we did our actual draft, it very much played out that way. Like, people are very hard to predict. And, when you do these kind of robot mock drafts, they don't really they take the emotional component out of drafting that is very, very present. So I think this was actually a very realistic that this very much could be what we see at the NFL draft for certain. Before we wrap things up here, again, we want to give a special thank you to walkthemock.com, the NFL mock draft simulator. You can use the code Interstate at checkout for 20% off. We want to thank you guys so much for watching this on YouTube and joining us for the last hour as we talked about the 2021 NFL draft. There is written analysis all the time over at interstateofgreen.com. These guys right here do mock drafts weekly and are constantly updating and finding the best. I don't know. Great analysis. It's better than anything I could write. I'm just here to talk and push all the right buttons. But these guys right here know what they're talking about. Check them out over at interstateofgreen.com. Make sure you follow them at their Twitters, all listed on the screen here. Rich, any closing thoughts? You're the mastermind who actually put this together. I'm just the voice behind it. Any closing thoughts?
I mean, I'm surprised it worked out as well as it did, honestly. I mean, this is definitely something we'll do in the future. I like the whole video thing. Maybe we'll do it for the final mock draft. Who knows? We'll see if we have the time. But it's really on you, Craig. But I'm happy that everyone made crazy picks. The Kellen Mond thing, we gotta put some money on that. If he goes at 20, you're gonna be a very rich man. So I like the draft. I really like how it played out.
I liked it a lot too. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment wherever you are watching. And I didn't forget my alleged catchphrase that Rich claims I said this once on a show, and now I do say it every time. But thank you so much for listening. And allegedly, that'll do her.